Hey everyone, welcome back to another week of Virtual Sunday School. We are starting a new series called More to the Story. Before we get started, let me pray. Jesus, I thank you for who you are and that you care about every aspect of our lives, that we can come to you with our questions and find truth and peace in your word. It's in your name we pray. Amen. So, let's talk about movies. If you like Marvel movies, scary movies, any Disney people, maybe you're like me and you like all kinds of movies, you could sit and watch them all day. If you like movies, then you probably like movie trailers. And that's the part of the movie that comes out before the rest of the movie. It shows you all these scenes, the action, the funny one-liners, and it gets you interested enough to go and see the rest of the movie. And so when you see a preview, you always know that there's more to the story, because if there was not anything else to the story, you wouldn't go and see the movie. But you probably had this experience where you saw this really great trailer. You thought this movie was going to be epic, awesome, so funny, so action-packed. The trailer was so good, and then you actually go and watch the movie and you're like, wait, I have already seen all of this. I saw all the important scenes, all the funny scenes, and now this movie isn't great. There wasn't more to the story. Well, that's true in life as well. For the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about things that are similar to movie trailers. We're talking about parts of life that we have an idea about, parts of life you see in culture almost everywhere, but there's often more to the story, in a good way or a bad way. We all kind of know something about this topic, but there's way more to the story. And what we're going to be talking about is sex. I know, that's awkward. You don't want to talk about that in church. It can be a little weird. But think about, you see it in every other area of life. You sing about it. There's Netflix shows about it. It's on TikTok, it's in magazines, it's in movies. It's taught in school, it's joked about, and maybe even you've had conversations with your family. You might be thinking, you already know what I'm going to say, and even if you haven't been around church much, you've probably already heard what God has to say about this topic. But we want to talk about it and have you question some of these ideas and think for yourself about, what is the real story? Isn't there more to the story? God's opinion on this is much bigger than just no. Because you might think God hates sex, that's the story, or he's mad about it, or he only cares about virginity. And if that's true, then it brings up questions like, is it bad if you're thinking about it? Is it bad if you want to do it? Can you do everything but it? People who've done it and they didn't die, is it really that big of a deal? Or you've done it, does that mean you're doomed forever? What if it wasn't your choice? Or you're not even interested, so can I skip the next few weeks? I get it's a loaded topic, and sometimes it can feel like God only cares about this one thing or this one mistake. But as we get started, I want you to know that that isn't the accurate picture. The truth is, when it comes to God's plan for relationship, there's more to the story. What's amazing is that people thousands of years ago had these same questions, had these same thoughts, same struggles. And so we can find guidance in the Bible for our very real questions by the wisdom of those who have lived thousands of years ago. So today we're going to look at a letter the Apostle Paul wrote to the church of Corinth. And because of where Corinth was located, people were often passing through on their way to somewhere else. It was the kind of town you passed through and misbehaved and partied before moving on. And even though these people lived 2,000 years ago, they don't sound all that ancient. Some of the people living in Corinth also had these questions about what it means to follow Jesus. And so Paul writes in this letter, and it covers a bunch of topics, but he had a lot to say about this topic. And the way he starts out this portion of the letter that I want us to think about today is this: I have the right to do anything. 1 Corinthians 6:12. That's what he starts out with. He's quoting a common phrase from the Corinthian culture at the time. And it's like the ancient equivalent of, I do what I want, or YOLO. So Paul begins with this idea in mind. I have the right to do anything. But this is what he says next. I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but I will not be mastered by anything. Paul speaks right into this culture and into our world today and basically says, look, I know it's popular to do whatever you want, whatever you feel like doing, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. I mean, that's good life advice for every area of our life. Just because you can put your hand on a hot stove doesn't mean that's smart or the best thing for you. In a particularly sexual culture, Paul reminds the Corinthians that just because you can do something doesn't mean it's the best thing for you. And the same is true today. Some of our lives would be much easier, less complicated, less stressful if we stopped asking, can I do this without getting in trouble? Can I do this without getting caught? And instead, what if we asked, is this good for me? Is this beneficial? Is this making me more like the person I want to be? In fact, learning to think about what's best over simply what's normal is part of being a mature person, not even just a mature Christian, but a person in general. But wait, there's more to the story. Whether you're active or thinking about it or consuming content through a screen, there's almost always another person involved. So you can't just think about yourself when it comes to this topic. Yes, you should ask, is this best for me? But we may be able to talk ourselves into doing something if we think it's right for us, even though it might not be right for the other person. If we really want to get this right, we should go even further and say, is this the right thing for us, for me and the other person involved? This way of thinking isn't optional for those of us who follow Jesus. When Jesus was asked what's most important, he said, love your neighbor as yourself. Something might feel good in the moment, but if it's not good for your future and not good for the person you're with, it's not okay, it's out. If something is fine for you, but you can't know or don't know if it's fine for the other person, it's not right. You see, Jesus was so clear about what God is like. How you treat people and how they treat you is important to him. He doesn't hate sex or want to keep it from you. He wants you to be the kind of person who loves him and looks out for the interests of others because of him. Here's what's crazy. Your dating life and your relationships can be better if we did this. How do we know? Because everybody wants this type of relationship. We all want to be in a kind of relationship where each person looks out for the other person's interest. We all want mutual love and respect and someone who will have our back. We want the kinds of friends and boyfriends and girlfriends who will look out for our future, even if we're not doing the best job of looking out for our future ourselves. This is what we set ourselves up for when we follow the instruction and wisdom from Paul. That's in alignment with the way of Jesus and what he says is best. But wanting to live like this and actually living like this are very different things. I realize that there are all kinds of feelings and desires and struggles factored in. And in fact, maybe you've already acted on those. Maybe some of you wish that you could have made that choice. And I'm sorry if that's you, but it's not your fault. No matter what your experience is, I want you to know no one's past actions, yours or someone else's, have to determine your next actions. And here's why. As followers of Jesus, we can and should become people of integrity. And that's not super common. What that means is someone who's trustworthy and honest and looks out for others. They're the kind of person whose beliefs and words line up with their actions. And just like you can be a person of integrity in your academics and your friendships, you can and should have integrity in your relationships, no matter what your experience is. It's more than just saving it until marriage or feeling guilty if you haven't. It's choosing to honor God and others in how you think and treat and value the people that you date. So how do you become a person of integrity? It's about being the person you want to be. You can always choose to live with integrity starting now. Nothing you've done or nothing that's been done to you can take that away. You might be thinking that sounds nice, but where's the line? What can I do? What can I not do? What's okay? What's not okay? And there are plenty of people out there who want to tell you this, who want to make this decision for you. But instead, I want you to think, who do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? Who do you want to look like in the future? And ask yourself questions and wrestle with what's true and listen to older and wiser people who've been there, and then decide for yourself. Not just a decision about what you will and won't do moving forward, but a decision about the kind of person you want to be. A few steps that will help you get there is this. Talk to God about who you really want to be. Invite Him into your story, your whole life, even this part of your life. You may have never done that before, but just know that He cares. He already knows your thoughts, your desires, your struggles. Talk to Him about it, and it might seem awkward at first, but He loves you and He wants to show you the best way to experience life. I believe that when you talk, He listens, and when you listen, He'll lead you to what you should do and what's best. Even if you're new to this whole church thing or exploring faith, try it. You have nothing to lose, and if it leads to what's best for you didn't you want that anyway? The second thing you do is talk to someone else. Bring it up with a leader or an adult or a friend, and it might be weird, but you won't freak them out. We've all been there. It's an everyday life thing. They'll be proud of you. And if you skip this step because it's something you want to hide, that's not being a person of integrity. Integrity is rarely something that you feel the need to hide. So the more openly you talk about this, what you're struggling with, and how you plan to become better, the more you'll stay focused on becoming that person you want to be, that person of integrity. So I get this is complicated. It's not the kind of thing you want to talk about with just anybody, but that's why we have small groups. That's why we have fellowship. That's why we have church. It's because these topics are personal and you have to work through them personally. You need to invite people into your life and figure out life together. You're not meant to walk alone. And so if this is something you are interested in talking about, please reach out to someone, because we are all happy to talk about this topic with you, no matter how awkward or weird it is. We will understand. That's all we have for this week, and I hope to see you back next week.